Welcome back for another Wilderness Wednesday. This week I'm going to go a little bit different direction than I normally do. I'm going to cover how I pack out my pack. Now I use the same idea whether I'm going out for a bushcrafting survival weekend or I'm doing a backpacking weekend. Coming up in just a few days, I'm doing a guided training hike with a really nice couple that I'll be outfitting for them. All of the gear that I'm showing here is in our rental corral. Here's my philosophy. I want the first things out to be the last things in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unpack my bag, show you what I mean by that, and show you a few little tricks as we go along. So let's get to it. Now, I'm not a big fan of things on the outside of my pack. I don't lash a lot of things on the outside of my pack. I want as much of it internal as I can. Two exceptions to that are my tent poles, and I have a unique approach to doing my tent and my sleeping bag. My tent poles I put on the outside. I don't use stuff sacks for my sleeping bag or my tent, and I'll explain that in a little bit. The other thing I do that's a little bit different is I carry a camp chair. Now for years I did just a regular sit pad like most people do. In fact, for a lot of times I didn't even do a sit pad. I would just sit on my pack or just sit on a log or a rock. But as I'm getting older, it's worth it for me to carry this a little bit of extra weight so that I'm comfortable at night, but I also keep it on the outside of my pack so that when I stop to take a break during the day, I can use this. Of course, some of you have followed me for a while. You know, sometimes instead of carrying this, I'll carry my hammock, even though I'm tent camping, and I can just string out my hammock and I can relax in that if I want to. The first thing I'm going to concentrate on showing you here is the main compartment of the bag, and then we'll get to the lid or the brain. Now the first thing I want out of my bag is going to be the footprint or the ground cloth for my tent. And here that is. Now in this case, I've just used a sheet of house wrap. You can make a really good ground cloth or footprint from this. And what I'll do is I'll lay that out first where I'm going to set up my tent. Next thing I want out is the inner wall of my tent. This is the main body of my tent. And notice, no stuff sack. I just use the main compartment of my bag as a huge stuff sack. With my ground cloth, my footprint laid out, I have my poles, that main body out, ready to go. So I'll get that set up before I go to anything else in my pack. But of course, the next thing in my pack is going to be the exterior wall of my tent. Now in this case, I have in here the North Face Storm Break 3. This is part of our rental corral, as I said, and this is a 3-person tent. Please understand that normally I wouldn't put a 3-person tent into one bag. I'm going to use this for a couple, or if I have 2 people that are going to share a tent, and I'll split that tent between their packs. But I wanted you to see how much I can fit in to just this 46-liter bag, which also is part of our rental corral. And I can fit a lot of gear in here using this method of not using stuff sacks. What happens with stuff sacks is I create a lot of dead airspace in and around those stuff sacks, whereas with this I can just pack it down and push it down in and fill all of those little nooks and crannies just like an English muffin. So my tent is all set up. I'm ready to eat. My cook kit and my mess kit. Next is going to be my food bag. Now my food bag doubles as my bear bag, and in this I have all of my entrees, and also anything else with a scent, like my toothpaste and things like that I'm carry and then eventually put into my bear bag. My paracord for my bear bag is also in here. I'm finally to the bottom of my bag. That's where I keep the things I want to keep dry. Now you can buy a pack liner. You can use a trash compactor bag, which is what I'm using here. You can use a garbage bag, but with a garbage bag, make sure to not use a scented bag. Because that scented bag, that's going to call out to the wildlife and say, hey, there's something over here yummy to eat. Get over here and inspect it. So in that, I have my clothes bag. This I do have in a stuff sack just so it's easy to get to. And of course, it's going to be all quick dry or merino wool, that type of thing. The one piece of cotton apparel that I allow myself on some hikes is a cotton t-shirt to sleep in. But these are my clothes, extra pair of socks, extra underwear. My camp pillow, inflatable, sleeping pad, inflatable, and then the sleeping bag. So that's the main compartment. In the hip pads, I have my Sawyer water filter, I have snacks, anything that I'm going to want to be able to get to just like I'm reaching into a pocket. In the interior of my brain, I have my poop kit, trowel, toilet paper. I do have some diaper wipe type things in here and some hand sanitizer, and my headlamp. In the outside of my brain, I have my first aid kit and a rain jacket that I can access quickly. If I know there's going to be quite a bit of rain when I'm on a particular hike or it's multi-day where weather may come in I don't know about, I'll carry something bigger than this, but this is just a packable raincoat. Now, as I said, this is my approach to packing, not unpacking. First thing in is that sleeping bag. I push that sleeping bag down in as best as I can, all the way to the bottom of that bag to keep it dry. Next, I'm going to take my sleeping pad and put that in there, and I'm going to put that towards my back and push that down in. I want it towards my back because I want the majority of weight to be as close to my back as I can get it. I'm going to push it down fairly low. Of course, I want my camp pillow to stay dry, so I'm going to put that in there with that. And then my clothes. Once my clothes are in, that's really all I need to stay dry. Anything else in here, if it gets wet, that's really not that big a deal. But I want my clothes and my sleeping gear to stay as dry as I can. So I'm just going to gather this up, push that trash compactor bag down in, and let as much of the air escape as I do that. I'm going to just roll that top on itself. And what I put on top of that then is going to help seal that and keep it not waterproof, but it's going to be hard for water to get in there. The next things I want to put in are my cook kit. And again, I'm going to put that towards the back that's going to meet my back between the pack and the backpack. My mess kit and my food bag, my bear bag. If you use a bear canister, if you're a place where they insist or it's regulations that you use a bear canister, then you can put that in on top of your dry stuff and then fill that with your cook kit and your food and that type of thing and get creative that way. The idea still works. The philosophy of first in, last out, first out, last in, that still works in that case. You just apply it to your situation. Now I'm ready for my tent. So the first thing I'm going to put in is the outer wall, the rain fly. With the rain fly stuffed in, next in is the main body of my tent. After that, it's going to go my footprint, my ground cloth. With the ground cloth in, I can cinch it all up. Once that's cinched down, ready to go, on that lid, or in my brain, my headlamp, and my poop kit. Once I've done that, we can cinch down that brain. Next, my camp chair can go in. I can do that on that external stuff sack. And then on this pack, I can cinch that down as well. Outside of the brain, I'm going to do my first aid kit and my rain jacket, things that I'll want quick access to. Zip that up. Stakes and tent poles are in this bag. I'm going to take that, put that into one of the side pockets, and I can take this strap over here, cinch that down. Make sure to tuck those drawstrings on anything external to the pack in so they're safe and they don't get caught on twigs or branches as you walk by. On this side, I'm going to put my 1 liter water bottle. I'm usually going to carry 2 1-liter bottles. You can put a water bladder in most packs these days. I'm not a big fan of the water bladder, but I have a lot of people I have a lot of respect for that use them and really like them. Your choice on that. In the hip belt pocket, here's the Sawyer Mini I talked about. I have that quick and handy, so I can just pop that onto the bottle if I need to source water that way. And then on the other side, I'll probably have some trail snacks, maybe a little bit of beef jerky. I'm going to put a link down below here that you can get a downloadable version of our packing list. It's a checklist. It goes through everything that you would need and also some optional gear, and also anything that's available through our Amazon affiliate program. I'll have a link there for that. Thanks for joining me for another Wilderness Wednesday. Get outside this weekend. It's impossible to be out in the woods and in a bad mood at the same time. This is Joe Bassett for Valiant Outfitters. We'll see you for another Wilderness Wednesday.